Hello players, I am Ruler, a legendary rogue from way back in the day. Used to play combat back then, but now it's actually my least favorite spec. I like sub and assassination. I have an optimal spec for assassination as well, but maybe I'll share it on another day. Today, we're talking sub. This, my friends, is the best spec for sub. If you go on Icy Veins or Wildhead or whatever, they have you doing this spec here, which is not the best. It's not the best. I've simmed them all, and I know. I've tried them with different stat priorities. The best rogue in the world, the one that's pushing the highest on subtlety, is using this spec at the moment. Find weakness 1 point, finality the other, but it's actually not the best. It's not the number one output spec. For both AoE and single target, you want to actually pick up the rotten, no matter your stat priority. I was very haste heavy, so I thought that okay, well maybe because I have so much haste, this spec is performing better, but the one with finality will catch up once I get the mastery up. But it didn't. In fact, this spec got stronger in the AoE to where it surpassed both in AoE and single target, the finality spec. Now my gear is not the best. I don't have the best trinkets, for example, but I do have 56% mastery, 27% haste, and 25% crit with the haste flask here and some oils. So I want to show you the most foolproof opener to get the most DPS out of your rogue. So what you want to do is obviously start stealth, but if you don't, that's fine too. We're not going to be using Light's Potential for this demo, but you can plug it in right before you press Shadow Dance. Um, what we're going to be doing is, because someone made me aware that the stat bonuses on the talent trees don't take effect until a full second later after you press the stat bonus increase, like a trinket, for example, that we're going to be using with lots of haste. You want to press the trinket and stat bonus says a full second before. Now, the global cooldown is less than a second for the rogue, so we don't want to be doing that if you're too quick. So what I've done is I've done two macros, one of them Shadow Strike with the trinket, and then Shadow Blades with the backstab. And if we don't have enough points, we'll do a Shadow Strike again once Shadow Dance is up. A lot of shadowing going on. And then we're going to press Secret Techniques. That's the most optimal opener. Okay? So let's go over it. I'm going to do it and we'll go over it again. Okay? So we got Shadow Strike and Trinket first, then Shadow Blaze and Backstab, then activate Shadow Dance, maybe another Shadow Strike if you don't have enough points at the time, and then Secret Techniques, followed by Coup de Grace or whatever happens to be um, your next ability. Okay, so that's basically how you do it. That is the most optimal opener for surefire like execution. Ideally, you'd want to wait until you have Shadow Techniques, save up to at least 5 before you press Secret Techniques. There's a lot of name overlapping here in the sub rogue, but we have to deal with it. So if you want to be mathematically correct, you would actually press um, Shadow Strike. After you press Shadow Strike, you would actually wait about a second, a little bit more than a second, right? 1.01 seconds, and then press Shadow Dance, okay? Followed immediately by a five Shadow Technique, Secret Techniques. And if you don't have enough points, you would do a Shadow Strike, okay? So boom, let's say you have enough, execute. If I don't have enough, press Shadow Strike, and then you press Secret Techniques, or Coup de Grace and Eviscerate afterwards. Now, that's going to be pretty crazy buff because over here I actually have displayed the timers. Go to Options, Combat Enhancements if you don't know this already. Go to Buffs here, and you can have all the timers be tracking the ones that you want to be aware of over here on the right. You'll see how long Shadow Dance actually is with and without the trinket. Okay, if I pop the trinket and Shadow Dance at the same time, you'll see that let's take a look at what the timer is, right? So you can track it here. So we're gonna press um, the trinket and Shadow Dance at the same time, and you'll see it's a bit over 7 seconds, correct? A bit over 7 seconds in the Shadow Dance. I actually pressed the trinket like a millisecond before Shadow Dance just to make sure. But you can macro them to go off at the same time. And it was a bit over 7 seconds. But now if we wait, okay, we're gonna have to wait 2 minutes. But if we wait, it's gonna be over 9 seconds. In fact, almost 10 seconds. 10 full seconds based on this. And what's gonna happen, I'm gonna go over the theory with you, and then I'm gonna do it in practice once the timer runs out. You're gonna have 10 seconds of Shadow Dance to open, which with Shadow Blades, and then automatically you're gonna have another 10 seconds because the trinket is still running. Okay, the Emberwing feather is still running, so you're gonna get another 10 seconds. It counts at the activation of Shadow Dance. So that's 20 seconds total uninterrupted Shadow Dance during your Shadow Blades. Not only that, but by the time you're done with that, the first charge of Shadow Dance will be up. So now you get another 8 seconds or so of Shadow Dance. So that's 28 seconds straight for the opener, and then you wait two more seconds, maybe one global or something, and then, or not even global, because maybe you want to save up the shadow techniques. Then you will activate um, another Shadow Dance, another Shadow Dance. So that's almost 40 seconds, okay, of straight Shadow Danceage in your opener. That's insane because, as you know, as a sub rogue, being in Shadow Dance is very, very beneficial, right? I mean, you get basically abilities deal more damage, everything. You get this one going on, right? The Macabre skill, Dance Macabre. You have everything that benefits, right? You get more Find Weakness, etc. You get this, the Rotten, for your first two Shadow Strikes or Shuriken Strikes, Shuriken Storm. You get all the benefits, right? You do so much more damage during Shadow Dance. It's unbelievable. So maximizing that is really important. That's why I was more haste heavy in the beginning, but actually mastery is a really important stat for subtlety. So mathematically, so you don't want to be too heavy on the haste. I hope that helps. Here is the trinket that came up. We're gonna do this again, and I want you to watch the length of the buff. It was just 7 point seconds, 7 point something seconds, right? In reality, it's about 8.01 seconds. 6 seconds plus 2.05. Now let's take a look at with the slow activation. I want you to watch the Shadow Dance timer, right? So we go boom, boom, and then activate Shadow Dance. Look, it was over 9. Did you see that? Now, when I go for the next Shadow Dance, right? It's gonna be, look at this, over 9 seconds again. You see that? Because the trinket was still running, and now it's out. And the next Shadow Dance will be a lot shorter. Okay, Shadow Dance here. It's the normal 8-second one. All right, you see how it works? And then after that expires, soon after we're gonna have another Shadow Dance, right? Here it is. Boom. Now we have another 8-second Shadow Dance. I mean, it's just so much Shadow Dance uptime through your initial burst. It's absolutely insane. Okay. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I hope you found this helpful. If you liked it, if you found the information nice, and you want to see me do some keys, currently I'm doing like 16 plus, but this I've only been doing for like 3 weeks. So I'm gonna push maybe some 16s, 17s, 18s. We'll see how far I can get with sub. Maybe I'll do assassination. But if you want to see more, give me some likes. Put a like on the video. If it reaches like 100 or something, I'll do assassination, and I'll post in the comments. Let me know if you'd rather see me do some mythic pluses or just talk theory. if you want some tips and tricks. All right, that's enough for now. Thanks, guys. Peace out.